Hello everyone. Introducing Deep Tech Talk with Sunil that delves into the minds of entrepreneurs, investors, and inspiring leaders to uncover the story of deep tech towards bringing it to the society.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Today seems like a great day. I'm having my first podcast in the series Deep Tech Talk with Sunil. I'm having a very special guest in the very first session of this series. To start with, I'm CEO of Sanchi Connect, Dr. Sunil. Sanchi Connect, which is a platform to ensure that the deep and emerging tech startups get the right opportunities to grow their business and raise funds from global partners. Let's move on to the podcast. We have got a very visionary person. I know him for a long time, when he might have just crossed his teenage, I would say, studying in pre-final of his graduation. We have somebody who's visionary, has created his own niche in digital transformation in one of the ever evolving industry, which is solar space. The company name is the SolarLabs. We have Siddharth with us. So hi Siddharth, welcome to the podcast. I hope you're having a great day.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Sunil. Yeah, having a great day.
That sounds great. Without wasting much of time, let's indulge in the interesting world of tech and snoop into the current trends. You started solar tech when you were, just correct me if I'm wrong, you were probably 2021 and studying in pre-final year of your graduation.
Yeah, so we started in 2017. That was my graduation year. And so it started off as an idea, most of the exposure at that time was around e-commerce, and I loved solar. Like right from first year, I had done courses in solar. I had projects with professors in solar. So I was pretty clear that I wanted to do solar, but I didn't really know what I could do. In the last some of the last internships that I did, I learned about how solar companies work, and explored the problem sets and why, what they do, right? And personally, I felt that solar is very powerful. I think it is going to be one of the major sources of power in the future. And solar with batteries is going to really revolutionize it's going to be the new energy industry, right? So we started off, interestingly, we started off doing something which we're not doing right now, right? So we had we went out into the market, we spoke to a lot of installers, and we learned the problems, and then we pivoted. So basically what we do today, we are a SaaS for solar installers to help them figure out, for any rooftop, how much solar could actually be put up on it, and then also to how to place the panels, inverters, the full system on the roof so that you get the maximum energy generation, right? So our software helps in both the sales, both helping the solar companies create sales proposals to explain solar to their prospects, and helping them close deals, as well as once those deals are closed, how those things are actually going to be installed on the roof, so they get the blueprints for that. Interestingly, we found obviously we were just out of college, right? So we didn't really have a network of solar installers on our speed dial. So what we did is we started doing user research. So before we even wrote one line of code, we just tried to validate the problem and validate that, okay, is this actually required? Obviously, from my experience, it was, but we wanted to get a lot more people committing that this is good, this is needed. So in one of this happened during college itself. In our last semester, we took a trip down to Delhi, And on Google Maps, we just put in solar installer, solar EPC companies, and then a bunch of them showed up. So we just essentially made like around 100 calls, and we got about 15 or 20 meetings in that time. So we spent a week, just met a lot of solar installers who were very kind with sharing their time as well as their valuable feedback. But during that trip, the idea actually took shape. The old one got thrown out. We learned the problem. We completely started on this SaaS journey. So yeah, that's basically how we started.
So that for a young man in early 20s starting a company, how sure were you that this is actually something that you really want to pursue? Because pivots are very commonly seen in startup world. Tell us if you have had some pivots in your business in the initial days, or because I don't remember of any pivot that if I had come across in the SolarLabs.
No, so initially we started as a marketplace. We wanted to connect solar installers to the people who wanted to get solar and build a marketplace with technology. We figured out that the marketplace model wouldn't work because there was not too much demand for solar, especially from smaller segments. And a marketplace is normally suited to encourage volume, right? So that's when we realized that model will not work. But we had thought of some really great technology, and we said, okay, this app applied through a SaaS. So the same technology idea, but giving that in a SaaS business model made more sense as a business. So that was the pivot. We met after, so so you didn't see that pivot, but yeah.
But I still remember the first customer you guys closed, and we celebrated it with Domino's pizza and some cold drinks that time. I still remember that. I hope you do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, fantastic. Golden days, I would say. So great then, and I'm sure there has been no looking back since then. And we have witnessed that you have had massive growth over the years and landed with enormous solar installers about a year ago. Could you please brief us on those numbers and your strategic growth success over these years?
Sure. So we started with direct sales to SMBs. So that's essentially how we started. And so in 1 year, in about 9 months of sales, we actually were breaking even on at least an operating cash flow basis. And right after that, COVID hit. So then we had a journey that we went through for that year. But through COVID also, we managed to keep growing. We expanded into a few more geographies because India at that time was very difficult, and a product we had built it for India. So that was a difficult time, but obviously, right? It's always a sinusoidal wave towards that, which is always positive. So that's where we went to. Right now, and ultimately what really worked for us is strategic partnerships with larger companies and OEMs. So they brought on with them like a lot of installers who worked with them, right? So that's something that worked really well for us as a model, and it's still working well today. We have currently somewhere around 1,500 solar companies which use us for their business, and I think the number is increasing day by day.
Great. So Siddharth, as an individual, I am a strong believer of teamwork, and you at such a tender age, you have been involved in building teams. Now, how do you contemplate between a mediocre and an advanced talent in your team? Number one. Number two, as an individual, how did it really help you grow personally as well as professionally? Because at the time when your colleagues, your batchmates were getting interviewed at various levels, you were interviewing people, right? So just share that story with us.
Right. So everything starts with a large amount of Googling, right? So that's what we started with. But I think it's a process, and when you go through the process, you learn, you tailor your questions towards what is required. And I think it took us some time to actually figure out, okay, how do we really make the right hires, right? Some of the things that I look for are curiosity. The person should actually have a natural curiosity towards figuring things out, towards, BA kya hai, how does this work, all of that. Because if they have that, then at work also they're going to carry that same attitude, and that is a great way to do actual and real problem solving. So curiosity is a key one. The second one is hard work. So as founders, obviously we work extremely hard in the initial years. I know it's hard to screen for that, but we always wanted someone especially at that time to be very hardworking and put in as much, or not as much, but close to what we were doing. The early team, obviously, and as the team does that, they also grow along with the company. So we've had a lot of people from those days actually now at very senior positions in the company.
Got it. So definitely you had a Kickstarter career in solar industry, and I'm sure it has taken tremendous strategic planning to get there. So since when did you actually start achieving the stable revenues in your business? And tell us something about your PMF. How and when did you achieve that? How did you started realizing that was, yes, I think we are around that now?
I think so in February 2019 we said, okay, we are ready for launch, but I went out into the market. I arranged so many meetings with companies, but they were not buying. So I would say that the month where we onboarded 5 customers, right, and those were really happy customers, would have been around August or September. But those were like 5 really happy customers. So it takes some time. I'd say the initial PMF took us about 6 months to get to, and that's I think that's a reasonable amount of time. But it does take that much time. And after that, it's always an iterative process. So you can always fall out of PMF. So because the market changes, the competitors come onto the market. There's more opportunity. We are in solar, right? So we are in a vertical SaaS market. So we then also can identify, okay, apart from solar design, what other things can we actually empower our customers with? So PMF is for us is an iterative process. So I think that's something that we have to continue to do for years.
Got it. And now sustainability has come in the mainstream these days. So what does it take to maintain a loyal customer base in an industry which is so fast growing?
Well, I think for us, we luckily did not have as many competitors come in. So that definitely helped. But I think ultimately, if you really understand your customer and understand what they need, what problems they face, and you put all the focus towards solving the problem and doing that really well, then even if a really big player comes in, you can actually hold your ground, because SaaS adapts workflows, and SaaS is built according to workflows of installers. So I think that's where we sort of had a benefit. The major problem for us was actually that solar installers previously before us, they were just not using anything, right? No software. So there was a lot of education and time and evangelizing that we had to do to actually convince them that, okay, if you use this is actually going to accelerate your business, right? And as we started to do that, it takes time, but now we're at a stage where everyone would know about SolarLabs and what we do and the benefits that we have. So it's a lot easier to sell now.
Recently, Siddharth, I heard somebody saying the first mover advantage thing has gone these days. It's the second and the third guy who reaps the most out of it. What is your take on this?
I think, I don't know. These are all a bunch of dialogues. Ultimately, you have to understand the problem and execute well.
Yeah, that's very true. So,
your point though is valid, right? The second guy finds it a lot easier because the first guy has done all the evangelizing and actually told the market that, hey, there is this kind of product that you need, right? So they would have expended, like they would have, spent marketing dollars and a lot of time to do that. The second guy has it a lot easier. That's for sure.
Yeah. Which means whatever I have heard is true to some extent.
No, but then when you have a first mover advantage, right? So we have felt that in a few other countries where we are trying to go into. It's harder to get people to switch because, you need to provide that delta.
Yeah.
And, how much of a delta can you really have? It's hard. So both, there's it works both ways. Nothing is better. It just really depends on execution, I think.
So Siddharth, are you a first generation entrepreneur in your family?
Yeah.
Okay. Which means I must ask you now, being a first generation entrepreneur, I'm sure it's not something which was there in your DNA. So you have learned a lot in last few years while you were doing all the work. How do you value and what kind of investors, enablers, network, and people you got in touch with, and what is your advice to the people to the young entrepreneurs who are starting in early 20s?
I think the key thing would be to put yourself out there and talk to a lot of people. From where we were, like just a couple of BTech graduates who knew engineering, but not a lot of worldly experience, right? Where we had to actually stand out and actually earn our own money and pay for stuff. We hadn't done that. So I think putting yourself out there and talking to people, learning about people, their experiences, what they did, what worked, what didn't work, and just talking, right? That actually builds up the mental models and gives you a lot of perspective on how the world works, I think, right? Once you know how the world works, it's easier to find your place. I mean, you never know how the world works, but you start knowing something and then you can find your place in it.
Yeah. And Siddharth, tell us something about your initial fundraise. How did you go about it, and what kind of investors and what kind of experiences you had?
So we had a small incubation from our an incubation grant and some seed money from our college's incubator. So that kept us going for a year. After that, we had to raise around 200K as our seed fund. At that time, we put it at that value because we were still not out with the product. It took us one more year after taking the 200K to actually put the product out. But we were able to, and after that we didn't need to actually do a fundraise. The kind of investors, I think people who really understand the industry are always helpful because they can add perspectives and they can provide connections to your target market, which is always helpful. It's not that any driven entrepreneur cannot do himself, but it's definitely helpful. The second thing is connects to future investors and people who are going to keep the ship going, provided we need capital. So I think those are the two aspects of what is required.
Great. So Siddharth, you are aware of Sanchi Connect. Now we are also a startup, pretty much new in the ecosystem as a platform. Had this kind of platform been there in 2017, do you think it would have helped you in some way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think platforms like this are very much required. A lot of and because it helps with two things, right? What a startup needs is money. You can get money from either customers or you can get money from investors at the early stage to get things going. Sanchi Connect, once you create the profile, you can actually, there are corporates there are investors there. So both of those together can really help, especially in the earlier rounds, right? So for example, let's say I'm an entrepreneur, I don't have any customers or investors right now, but I have a good concept. If I am able to convince an enterprise that, hey, I need this, they issue, or 2 or 3 enterprises issue me an LOI, a letter of intent, and it's a real letter of intent, right? I was able to, through the platform, talk to these enterprises, right? And that's hard by itself, right? So I was able to talk to them, they understood the value, they gave me an LOI, and then I can get a team together and then show those to investors, or build out a prototype, or depends on some level of traction, the type of company you are. But then I can give that traction and show that to investors to actually get a fundraise. So that process is very, very hard. It takes a lot of.
I agree, especially in the initial days when you know. I think having the first few POCs is the most important thing for any startup, especially in the enterprise space, and then the journey becomes easier the moment you have the right set of initial partners.
Yeah, it's paramount. That's what in the early stages, that's what builds or breaks a company, because without any of those, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And by the way, Siddharth, I don't know if I've told you earlier, but I keep on quoting you to many founders. You know, the kind of trajectory you guys took. You know, starting from a college incubator to taking few lakhs and then going for a small seed round, and then there's no need of money. You went on their own. You started focusing on the revenues, and sustainability was definitely then, apart from the sector, you were also as a very good sustainable and a self-sufficient startup. So I keep on quoting you guys. So you must keep me in your marketing, collaterals. I'm one of those collaterals for you.
For sure.
So Siddharth, coming back to the point now, SolarTech is a diverse platform, and there seems to be a constant growth in this sector for the years to come. Do you want to throw some light on challenges and opportunities that you see as an entrepreneur who has spent decent time in this industry for the peers that you have?
Sure. So opportunities are manifold, right? As a vertical SaaS company in solar, we have people running solar businesses, which are using a lot of software. Like, people use us for proposals, design, but they're also using Salesforce for CRM. They're using some horizontal software like Salesforce for doing project management, and then something else for monitoring systems. And all of this needs to, it's like a full tech stack, right? A stack for our customers. So it has 5 or 6 softwares that they're currently using. Now, all of those need to be connected through APIs, and not all of them are connectable. So it doesn't work out as well as what, like, I believe if there was one platform to actually handle the entire workflow of a solar company, I feel that would be a lot more powerful and would deliver a lot more value. There are a lot of problems that occur due to cobbling together of multiple platforms. So that's something that I see as an opportunity. So we're going into adding more modules into the solar space. So one of the things that we're doing is bringing in project management tailored towards solar. So obviously there is stuff like Asana, Jira, and all of that, right? But this is something that caters to solar installers, how their exact workflows function, sitting at office, on the site, with the customer as a stakeholder. So all of this comes together on that platform. That kind of workflow is not really possible for a horizontal company as a focus.
Yep.
Similarly, we're also launching customer direct tools for an installer to directly interface with the customer. So some opportunities like that is what we are focused on. In the solar space completely, there's a lot to do. Like we function in rooftop solar which is one part of it, but then there's ground mount solar also, right? So there are different softwares for all of these things. Then there is, according to the stages, right? You can have a CRM, you can have design, monitoring, and a bunch of things like that. So there's a lot of opportunity for people and companies to actually come in the space, add a lot of value. Because right now the solar industry is still very nascent. You have to imagine that, the solar companies of today are gonna be the Shells and the ExxonMobils and BP of tomorrow. That's the scale that solar companies are gonna get to. So definitely, through software, through services, through other things, there's a lot of scope for people to add value in the solar industry.
Yeah, true, very true, very true. So at present, the public is self-aware of sustainable living and is approaching a healthy lifestyle in all the aspects. How do you think the Solar Lab is contributing to this change and making a difference?
Yeah, I think using us, solar companies are better able to explain solar and its benefits to people like you or me or anyone who just wants to get a solar installed on their rooftop, or a factory owner who likes solar, because we all know solar is good, but what does it exactly do for us? That is what an installer gets out of our platform. So I think we definitely play a very large part in helping consumer awareness about solar, and eventually helping installers close more deals means that more solar is installed every year. So I think that's what we're doing. In fact, we also know for a fact that for most of the customers which onboard with us and start using us, their sales closure rates go up. So it has a direct positive impact on their business, and that's something that we feel that we want to take the credit for driving.
Certainly. So last question, Siddharth. Now imagine we are having the same Siddharth, the 21-year-old Siddharth, and you have to restart the Solar Lab, or you have to start Solar Lab afresh from today. What will be the anything you would like to go differently, or from the investment point of view? What would be your top picks from the from the deep tech investor community? So just couple of names, maybe 2 or 3 top picks, which are there on the Sanchi Connect also.
Right. I think if I were to start again, I would definitely pick some of my existing investors. They've been really supportive, and they've given a lot of support even during the tough times. So definitely I'll ask them to come along, and again we'll go through Sanchi Connect and look at and take basically the people who are more suited or the best suited for that type of company that I want to do. I can't comment on any names because it's very dependent on what the company is doing.
Yeah, no, perfectly. In fact, that was one of the consideration point for us also, because we wanted to transparently mention the investment thesis and the core competencies apart from the cash that any investor can bring on the table. That's what we try to focus on, because gone are the days when you only care about the money. It's also about the color of the money that matters a lot today. So yeah, fantastic, great, Siddharth. I hope you had a great time with us. Loved having this conversation, and I hope to meet you again soon sometime. And thank you so much. Any last comment from your side to the audience?
Yeah, so I think the funding and customers, right, is a very good problem that you're solving. So continue at it if you really, and because that's what starts the company, right? So we'll have a lot more startups coming out of India, and India is going to be like, it's the 21st century, I think. Yeah, that is India's century, right? So you and Sanchi Connect will play a very major part in that and in cracking
just
that.
Sharing with you, Siddharth, I hope this won't go out. We are internally keeping a target of 100 investments through the platform in the very first year of Sanchi Connect. So just keeping the fingers crossed. I hope we are able to do some good work for the community. And great. Thank you so much, Siddharth. Take care. All the best.
Yeah. Have a good day. You too.
Hey, to you. Thank you. Bye.
Join SanchiConnect.com to sign your next term sheet where multiple more investors are waiting for you.